I made it for nothing, no turn into something from nothing. Yeah. Made it through property on our minority, you know the story. Hop on the jet on my property and fly away. Fly, blah, blah, away. I'm in prison, yeah. Straight out the trenches, yeah. My niggas can't wait me, yeah. The richest, the richest, the richest, yeah. Rich niggas.
Go-to loctician, influencer, and educator that comes into the clutch for all things lock business and content. Let's get into the details of today's video. My beautiful client Taryn. Y'all, I haven't seen her since February. Of course, it was for some military stuff, but one of the things that I do is if my clients have to leave for deployment or some military orders and they know they're coming back, I'll just save their spot or make sure I do their hair when they're in town. So for this client, she was actually a little over 26 weeks overdue, and she was in a 3-hour slot, and I had another deployment overdue retie right after her. So today's video is going to be a little different. First, we're going to travel back to 2019 and talk about my client's lock journey. We're jumping back to 2024 to do a watch me work. Because I was swamped that day and couldn't record a lot of footage, we're also going to get into a little spin the day with me so you can see how my day was progressing. Let's take it back to November 5th, 2019. And I installed her microlocks a little bit different back then. Right now, my most popular methods of installing is interlocking and 2-strand twists, but I install her microlocks with comb coils. Honestly, I really can't remember why she chose comb coils, but I really think she just liked the way they looked. But her main concern was a scar that she has in the crown area towards the left. She wanted to make sure that even though she has microlocks, she would get the proper coverage. And I assured her at the time, yes, she would, as long as she was okay with always wearing a right side part. To install her comb coil microlocks, I did use a gel to keep it tight at the root, but majority of it, I used a foam. And I secured it with a couple clips. This is what the finished product looked like. And I could say even back then, the parts was eaten down. But the military took her away from me, so I only did a couple of maintenance sessions before she went to her next duty station. But in February 2023, she came back to your girl, and she's been my client ever since. Let's take a brief intermission and check out a pipe cleaner curl set that I did on her about 8 months ago. It's your favorite loctician educator, and we're back with another OG client. I started her microlocks with comb coils back in November 2019, and today we're doing a retie and a pipe cleaner curl set. After starting my client's hair, I did not maintain it because she had to move, but she moved back around the same time I got out the Navy, so I welcome her back with open arms. As you can see, her grid is literally the exact same. I took a lot of pride in that because even though I wasn't doing her maintenance the whole time, foundation was stable because that's my #1 priority. Her retie took me about 2 hours. I took 2 photos and then prepped for the pipe cleaner curls. Y'all, I absolutely despise doing pipe cleaner curls on sister locks or microlocks because it just takes such a long time. But I took a styling class with Caribbean Kinks earlier this year, and here's what I learned. Number 1, don't go too crazy on the product, such as foam, because it actually weighs down the hair. Number 2, double or triple up your pipe cleaners to add more fullness. Number 3, put multiple locks on one pipe cleaner. Number 4, when rolling it up, don't overlap the locks. If you run out of room, simply push the locks down on the pipe cleaners. Number 5, don't twist it too tight to the scalp. Number 6, roll it up like they about to get that man that good with the moo so it doesn't stick them in their head. Sorry y'all, I don't have the end result because that's why pipe cleaner curls are so amazing. You could just get up and go. Take them out when they're fully dry later on. But let me know what y'all think. Comment below. See y'all later. Unfortunately, I do not have the finished product because the benefit of pipe cleaner curls is I can put them in and you can go home and wait till they dry. But the downside for me is if you forget to take pictures, I'm not going to get pictures of the finished product. Okay, now let's travel back to 2024. Now remember I said she was 26 weeks overdue. Yes, that is a lot of time that has passed, but on the bright side, she doesn't have a lot of locks or sister locks, and those range around 400 locks. She has around 250, so I'm confident that I will finish her hair in about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. The main concern was the shampoo. You can see in the camera that her locks are a little bit gray, so I knew I had to spend a lot of time in a shampoo bowl. But we was crunched on time and I didn't have time to show the shampoo, so we about to get right into the retie. But like always, I used the brand Lovely and the Influence brand. After the shampoo, while putting it up in a ponytail, I made sure to go kind of row by row or section by section to make sure I detangle the hair before putting it up in a ponytail. And my tool of choice today is the interlocks tool. Few key points about the interlocks tool that I love is that 1, the tool is metal and it's a off color that won't blend in with any black or white surfaces. And with it being metal, that means it's not going to break. So of course the durability is on 1,000. The tool is made with a little hole so you can have this bracelet and extender attachment. So if you're a clumsy girly like myself and always drop your tools, this is a great tool because now you don't have to stop and clean your tool every time you drop it. Also, you can pay a little extra to get your bracelet and extender your brand colors. If you're a content girly like myself, having having your tool be your brand colors just adds a little razzle dazzle. There are a couple downsides. The tool is metal, so it is a little bit heavier, so your hands might be sore when you're getting used to the tool. And I'm not gonna lie, it is a little pricey. Given that it's metal, that it's not going to break, and you can get a custom bracelet and extender set with it, me personally, I feel like it's definitely worth the price. And no, this video is not sponsored, but I am an affiliate, and if you know me, I'm not going to put my name on no brand I really don't like. If you're interested, I'll make sure to put the links below, but let's get back to this appointment.
That nigga munching, he gon' eat me like a mango. Long ass street, it be tickling my ass crack. Wonder what I do tomorrow that these hoes will be mad at. Oh yeah, bitch is sweet, and I always get my lick boo. I thought for my bitches and I'm fighting over dick too. Say your name up in my.
As I got to the top, I wanted to show why retwisting microlocks really doesn't make sense, even though I know there's a trend out there saying that you can. The act of retwisting and the act of interlocking are totally two different methods. So yes, you can retwist and interlock larger locks such as traditional locks. And yeah, maybe one can say you could also retwist and interlock microlocks, but it doesn't mean you should retwist microlocks. And the main thing that comes into play is the sizing. Traditional locks, you have a lot more hairs to get that friction started to start the locks. Whereas with microlocks and sister locks, it's not really a lot of hair in the lock, so it's not going to go through that process as quick. Hence why when you compare somebody's microlock journey to a traditional lock's journey, the traditional lock's journey 9 times out of 10 is going to progress and be locked quicker. But in both instances, the locks, as they mature and as they gain weight, it's going to act like an anchor weighing it down. But because traditional locks has more hair and can go through the locking process faster, as the hair locks, it reinforces that weight. But for sister locks and microlocks, the journey doesn't go that way. So when you retwist microlocks, you are essentially hitting them with a double-edged sword. Locks don't have enough weight to hold the retwist, so the retwist is not going to last long at all. And the retwist does not retighten it back to the root. Interlocking does. So because you're retwisting it, the hair will unravel, which in turn will not allow the microlocks to keep up with the growth rate and lock rate. So the anchor of the locks that's already locked is causing the locks to thin, or will potentially cause the locks to thin, I should say. Whereas with traditional locks, if you retwist it, yes, the retwist will come undone over time, but because it has a whole bunch more hairs that it can intertwine with, it will lock faster, which will keep up with the rate of growth. Y'all, I really feel like I'm ADHDing this out, so if you made it this far, just drop a comment below to let me know if that makes sense. But all in all, stop retwisting microlocks, and a lot of the stuff that y'all see online when they say they're retwisted microlocks, they're not microlocks, they're just smaller traditional locks that's smaller than a normal small. But at the introduction of the video, I did show clips of me covering up her scar, but I really feel like we achieved the vision that she was looking for with her locks. Finished her 26-week overdue retie in about 3.5 hours, and I used the clutch overdue retie formula to calculate her price. And honestly, I'll have to make a separate video on the formula, but essentially I made the formula because I was tired of winging my prices when it came to people that were overdue. And when I first started locks, I noticed that a lot of clients would purposely go overdue because at the end of the day, they would be paying less than what they would pay if they were on time. So pretty much the formula makes sure you gonna pay what you was paying if you were on time. And no, my client did not pay over $600 for her hair because she has 250 locks and she let me record, and it only took 3.5 hours, which is literally 30 minutes over my normal time for somebody that's on time. I took $200 off the overall price. But this is her finished retie, and she was my first client of the day. Rate this maintenance session 1 through 10 in the comments. And like I said, this is going to double as a spend the day with me because my last 2 clients I couldn't really record because I was on crunch time. So let's get into client number 2. Oh, my first client was at 9:15 a.m. and my second client came at 12:25 p.m. She's a sister lock consultant too, and she left for deployment for a while, but she told me that her last retie was 8 weeks ago. But y'all, I'm gonna be so for real, the front was 8 to 9 weeks. The back was definitely given 25 weeks overdue. Because she told me she was 8 to 9 weeks, I kept her in the 3-hour slot even though I didn't see her for a while. And it's no fault to her, but personally I went against what I usually do. I should have asked for a picture of her hair. It's definitely a loctician pro tips for my locticians out there. Never go by the client's word. Always bring them in either for a consultation, or at least if you're familiar with them, get a picture of the actual state of their hair so you you can make a proper assessment and allot the proper time. So even though my first client and this client were pretty much the same time overdue, the client I'm currently working on has sister locks, so she has in the 400 lock range. I was essentially doing 26 pull throughs on over 80% of her head, whereas my first client I was doing maybe 10 pull throughs. So if I'm doing a 4-point rotation and there's 26 pull throughs, it means I pulled my tool through each point 26 times. So divide 26 by 4, I was doing 6.5 rotations on 80% of my client's head, whereas my first client I was doing 2.5 rotations. Also was dealing with a lot of grid reconstruction and some thinning, so some locks had to be combined. And that's another reason why when you have locks this small, you want to make sure you're maintaining a schedule. Even though I understand life happens, hence people going on deployment or getting military orders somewhere, you have to be intentional about your maintenance, because remember, you go a long time, it is going to cause thinning because your locks is acting as an anchor. If you're not doing anything to reinforce it, it's just going to weigh your hair down and cause thinning and breakage over time. But here's the finished product. Y'all, I really don't want to talk about the price because I really didn't feel like I charged enough. I was supposed to finish her retie at $330, but that didn't happen, and I had to push my $330 client to $530. And I'm not gonna lie, that kind of sucked because I'm done working evenings in the salon because I want to make sure I maintain a routine with my son. But hey, it's a part of the game, it happens. Before I continue on with my last client, I did want to say, please do not take my lessons and experience as me complaining. I'm really telling y'all what I went through. So if you're aspiring to be a loctician, or if you deal with some of the same things that I'm talking about, that you know how to navigate and how to move. But now here is my $330 client that turned into my $530 client. And yes, I did not really record her for real, but this is her before. Her retie was 8 to 9 weeks overdue. So yes, I had a whole day filled with overdue reties, but she paid $0.00 because we were bartering services. And that's one thing I will say, I love a good barter. And if you were ever looking into bartering services with your clients, or maybe wanted to ask your locticians to barter services with you, I did want to say, do not focus on the monetary value so much, especially if the prices are like maybe $30 or $40 difference. If y'all both agree that the services that y'all bartering is equal in that sense, the money really won't matter. But remember, always keep an account of time. If you taking 10 hours on something and they take maybe 1 or 2 hours on their barter, maybe I would talk about some monetary exchange. But anyway, this is the finished product. If you made it this far, please drop a purple heart, or any color heart for that matter, in the comments. And like always, drop something that you learned today in this video. I was definitely a professional yapper in this video, so if you like me yapping through the entirety of the video, let me know. If you like my other editing style, let me know. And lastly, before I let y'all go, I'm thinking about doing a Q&A video, so if you have some questions, whether it's loctician related, life related, whatever, content related, please drop them in the comments below. But if you got this far, thank you so much for watching. My name is Deanna, but you call me Clutch. I'm your go-to loctician, influencer, and educator that comes in the clutch for all things lock business and content. And I'll see y'all next time for the next video.